Hello and welcome to a football podcast with myself, Christian Jack, and Stephen Caldwell. Today we chat about Toronto FC hosting New England Revolution, Whitecaps, and again, the dreaded VAR story. Liverpool at top of the table. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer crashes his car in Wolverhampton. Alphonso Davies opens up his account in Germany. We'll talk about the Champions League draw, Messi, and much more. This is the midnight edition, Stephen Caldwell, of Football Podcast.
This is a late one, yes.
It's a late one, fresh off our broadcast on the TSN side from BMO Field. We are now a little bit warmer. You still got your tie on, which is very impressive, mate. Mine's come off.
Thank you, mate.
Very impressive as ever, looking sharp and dapper. Here we go. Toronto FC 3, New England Revolution 2. Much to discuss. We will get into the big storylines and the big controversies that happened before the end of the first half shortly. But in the end, TFC grounded out. The only perfect record in the Eastern Conference, 2 wins from 2. Job done, 3 points.
Yeah, job done, 3 points. I think it's more about the result in the 3 points than it is about the overall performance. There was moments, periods of the match where TFC were very good, and then there was moments where they had lost their way a little bit, in my opinion, and that attack looked like it didn't really have any great ideas how it was going to try and penetrate New England Revolution. But I think all in all, the 3 points was a crucial thing. You know, getting off to a bad start, losing another early goal is disappointing, but then to come back in. I think when they lost the goal, they were a better team, KJ. I don't know what you think about that, but they were on top and they were playing some good stuff, I thought, in the first 30 minutes. And then second half was, I think I called it a grind on the broadcast. It was just a grind to kind of somehow try and come away with the 3 points, and they did that. A nice little move, an awful goal to concede from New England's point of view, but really good ball from Bradley, and Morrow, who was his usual self, he was up and down. He's just
I thought it was excellent, actually.
He's relentless, isn't he, on that left-hand side, and a great ball, just fed it into an area, didn't try and pick anyone out, put it in a dangerous spot, and hoped that the movement of his strikers would be sufficient and have enough quality. Lo and behold, the man that comes off the bench, the man in the moment, the designated player, just signed his new contract a few weeks ago. Jose Altidore gets a winning goal. Yeah,
it felt like it was meant to happen, didn't it? He was almost like a prized fighter coming into the ring when he was coming off the bench, and the whole crowd just got up for it. And actually, give the crowd a lot of credit for it. It felt like a bit more of a European atmosphere where they were very aware of it right away. They were very aware of him coming on the field at that moment, and they gave it to him the reception that I think he obviously wanted and had hoped for. You talk about the early goals. Last season, they conceded 64 goals in Major League Soccer, 13 in the first 15 minutes to start the first half, 15 in the first 15 minutes to start the second half. So basically, that's 33% of the match, where they conceded 44% of their goals last season. And again, a goal early in the first half. And this one, when Mavinga gave away what was a reckless challenge and 100% a penalty. And then the second one, again, defensive lapse on the Carlos Hill goal, deflected off Auro. But again, right away to start the second half, where I felt like after the controversy of 2-1, it could have gone the other way, where New England were the ones disappointed with it. But TFC, again, I thought really started slow. We'll get to some positives in a minute, but that's a bit concerning for me, conceding 2 goals at home in the manner that they did and the time that they did.
Yeah, I thought the first half, when TFC were the team on top, I thought they started the first half really well, and then I would blame Mavinga particularly, but maybe the defensive unit for allowing Teal Bunbury to get in behind. It was a ball that was played down the channel, a little bit innocuous. Mavinga felt that it was just going to bounce on the turf and drift into that channel, and he switched off for a second. Teal Bunbury had a really good match, actually, but a wonderful touch inside. And then at that moment, one thing about Teal Bunbury is that he's never really been a prolific finisher.
No.
So one part of his game that's maybe lacking a little bit. So why are you making a rash challenge there like that on the angle? Trust your goalkeeper. You've made the error. Don't come in with a challenge. There was no way he could get the ball from the angle he was tackling, and he brought Bunbury over. And after a good start, they find themselves 1-0 down. Carlos Hill just puts it into the top corner.
Great penalty, yeah.
Great penalty. And then the incident happened, and because of the start of the second half, there was a little bit of cause there for New England. They started it well, and TFC just looked like they had zero energy and not on the front foot like they were in the first half, and it gave New England impetus to go and take the game to them. And a terrible second goal to concede. Auro was was just standing off. I don't know why he didn't go tight to Carlos heel. It was a weird one, wasn't it? You see, I understand why players defend with their hands behind their back these days, but I never like it. It looks like, you know, that they're not that interested in getting near the ball, and he left them, you know, 2 yards of space, and a player of his qualities going to find the corner, takes a slight deflection off Alvaro and wrong foots Alex Bono, and lo and behold they find themselves level, and TFC are in a right battle at that point, aren't they? Their attacking play was nowhere near as incisive as it was in the first half.
No, it wasn't. And let's carry on the floor of the game. We'll get to this controversial moment in a minute and answer some of your questions, and we've got some great ones. And by the way, so many people stopped me tonight at BMO Field and said thanks and congratulations on the podcast, so I always appreciate that. That's really nice to hear.
We really do. Thank you.
The 3-2 goal, Juan Agudelo, is brought on by New England at that point, and New England played basically a 4-3-2-1 or 4-3-1-2 with Hill giving a free roll and Fagundes playing high. I was down on the sidelines and I said on the broadcast, Brad Friedel at one point said, Diego, Mavinga can't run. Target him, stay with him. And then when Agudelo came on, he made sure to tell them after TFC had gone to 3, he said to Agudelo and Bunbury, stay on Simon and Mavinga. There was a clear identity and plan that he wanted to do that. Forget more. He wanted to go man-to-man with those two. He still had Hill on the field as well. And at that point at 2-2, we've watched New England twice already before this game. I thought he might just go back to his normal 4-4-1-1 and play Bunbury out wide, Agudelo up top with Hill just behind, and really pack it in. You know, 2-2 away from home at TFC. You've scored 2 goals. The likelihood of you getting a third away from home is slim. But he didn't. He went at it. And I actually think that was a bit naive, and he handed TFC the impetus because, again, Morrow got that run down that wing, as you mentioned, because it was not really tracked all day. It was a tactical battle. And he was able to play the ball in. Ayo Akinolu, who scored his first MLS goal, makes a really good run to the front post to take away some defenders. Good. Really good, intelligent run that left Altidore free at the back post. And it was one of those, the moment he hit it, you knew it was going in. Right? So maybe thoughts on what you felt was the tactical shift for New England, because I thought that maybe he shouldn't have done that.
I was shocked from the start. We've saw Brad Friedel's New England play with 4-4-1-1 since his first game, I think, and I can't remember him wavering from that many times. And so when I saw Fagundes up top, there was some talk about that, and just didn't think it was going to happen. It was strange. Fagundes couldn't get in the game. That wasn't his position. So when they were going with the 2 up top, I thought they would have been better going with Agudelo and Bunbury from the start. But I don't think it worked particularly well in the first half. It left a lot of space for Morrow to exploit. Chapman was coming inside. Bai naturally just comes in that little bit in the right back role, and then Morrow was just bombing down the left-hand side. You don't need to give him 2 invitations to get forward. Justin Morrow is one of the best attacking left-backs in MLS, and he has been for a good few years now. And second half was quite interesting. You mentioned it there, KJ. They went higher, didn't they? And Carlos Hill, who was floating around in the first half, going deep, picking the ball up, playing more like a midfielder, became like a false number 9, and it penned TFC in a little bit. It made it difficult for them to get out, and it created more pressure and allowed New England to play the game in TFC's defensive half. And I thought that was smart. And you're right, when it goes 2-2, you would have thought that Brad Friedel would have said, okay, back to our more conventional 4-4 block with a 1-on-1 to try and just tighten it up a little bit, and maybe hit TFC in the break for the third goal, rather than go for it and really go for the throats. Commendable. I always like when you see positivity from a coach, but when it doesn't work, then you have to question it. And I think that in the end, that space was there for Morrow. A great ball over the top from Bradley, and the movement from the strikers just gave Altidore a chance he was never going to miss.
One of the reasons why I bring it up is, and I get most of our listeners care very little about New England tactically, but I do think it's interesting to keep an eye on it. I think it's another example of a team that is quite conservative in Major League Soccer, coming into BMO Field and not being intimidated and going, we're going to have a go here. Keep an eye on that, by the way, because it's not the same TFC before. They scout these teams, they see clear weaknesses, and even at 2-2 felt that TFC were very vulnerable. It didn't work out for them, but it doesn't mean to say that the thought process behind it, I think, is something that we can all keep an eye on why they did it.
Yeah, and New England have went into BMO Field and scored 2 goals and could have scored more. There was no moment in the match that I felt TFC really had it solid and tightened up, and I think that tells you the vulnerabilities within TFC and the confidence, like you say, these away teams are coming into BMO Field, and I don't consider New England Revolution anywhere near one of the most potent threats in MLS, so keep your eyes on it when LAFC and Seattle and Atlanta are struggling at the moment, but a team like Atlanta come into BMO Field, DC United, NYC, we could go on. Game, some of the quality of the attacks will be licking their lips watching the highlights of TFC tonight, even though they got the 3 points. There's a real vulnerability there. Whether they play 4 or 3, there just seems to be that frailty in decision making between someone at the back. Unfortunately for Mavinga and Simon, it's been them this season. You expect more consistency from Drew Moore, and again, he never really put a foot wrong tonight.
No, he didn't. And you mentioned some of the other quality teams in Major League Soccer. I tweeted this out. I did some research on this on the weekend. TFC were the only team this season in MLS to play a front 6 of North American players. Yeah. That's absolutely remarkable when you think about it. Every team right now has got one of those, at least one of an overseas special player.
Yeah.
TFC's guy's coming, but he's not here yet. Let's get to the big moment of the match. Obviously, first half stoppage time, Jordan Hamilton gets a 2-1 goal. I'm down on the sidelines. Everything's going crazy. I'm getting ready for my halftime interview. Brad Friedel goes absolutely ballistic at the officials. And, for those who've seen it, where we're going here. The rule is what we have a problem with. We have no reason to believe why the goal was given. The goal was given by the letter of the law for the rule of what the officials are playing by.
Yeah.
The rule 11 that was changed a little bit in 2017. In this case, the defender moves his foot towards the ball to intercept it. That's considered a deliberate act and negates the offside position. That's now what they're globally instructed to do. We've seen a little bit like the Sterling one that we talked about last week with Watford, even though that was a little bit different because Sterling was obviously playing in Yanmark. It was a little bit closer. But the defender here, Delamere, at this point, I felt for him because he has to make that as a defender. He has to make the clearance. He has no time to look over his shoulder to see whether that player's onside or offside. And as we said, rules are put in place to stop unfair advantages. And there's without question Jay Chapman standing 4 yards offside that allows to score the goal. So the rule in its place, for me, I understand why it stood. But it's a complete and utter farce, mate. It's a farce.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous rule. And I have particular grievances with this being an ex-central defender.
Defending's hard enough as it is, no?
KJ, it's so hard to, in a nanosecond, to think about all the things we're asking Delamere from New England to process in his brain at that moment between the decision to go to the ground, to get up, to get back into defensive shape, to really try hard to intercept the ball. He can't know if his left back's deeper or if his right back's fell down. He can't process that quickly enough. Of course, his natural reaction is to put his foot out into the ball and try and intercept it, and because of a slight touch it then makes a poor run from Jay Chapman, 4 yards offside. You're right, it's not even close. It shouldn't even matter if it's close, but he's not even close. He's 4 yards offside to then be played onside. There was one thing that I recognised, that the assistant referee put his flag up. Then for some reason he's probably told by the referee back down again because of that touch. So there's confusion there as well, because Delamere sees that out of the corner of his eye, stops playing, not saying that he would have got back to Jay Chapman, but to stop playing and then to for the play to be allowed to go on. I know we always say play to the whistle, but realistically when you see that flag go up, you switch off for that second or two that really matters. And then the ball goes into the box and Hamilton's there and he's delighted for the gift. But how can we say that guy's in a position that he can intercept that ball? I get it. I know what the rule says. I understand to the letter of the law. It may have been the right decision, but I just feel that the defender has to be in a position comfortably to intercept that ball for that to be offside. I'm never going to accept it. I played the game and I just don't think it's the right thing, and I don't think that anybody who's on the opposite end of that would have been happy with it. Everyone who was in New England were incensed, and if it was TFC it would have been the same thing. Yeah, look, it's a great way of putting it. I don't really say anything else. The other thing I'd say is that you're giving a clear advantage to a team that thinks it's okay to pass to a guy who's 4 yards offside. Yeah. How stupid is that, by the way? That pass is being made, and at that point no one's thinking, okay, he might just touch this here, we might get away with it. That's not how you work. You're playing a ball to a guy who's not close to being onside, and then suddenly he touches it. Oh great, now I can go on a clear run on goal and pass it to my mate who puts it in the back of the net. I would actually love to know what Jay Chapman was thinking, KJ. Would you? Because you would think he would sort of put his hands up and come back towards the ball, but he's right onto it. I don't know if he even thinks about that, or he just takes a chance and puts it in there. But it was a big moment in the match, and what a ridiculous rule. We've had so many discussions about this one incident at BMO Field with some great officials in the game, either through in person or through text, and I get why it happens. I don't need people to explain it. I know what the rule means, and that I just know what it's like to be on that field, and it's a ridiculous rule. It can't be allowed.
No, I talked to Greg Vanny about it at halftime on the broadcast as well. We alluded to the fact that it happened to TFC last year against New England and against Independiente at home, by the way, with the Lawrence Simon header when the player was behind him as well. So it's happened to them as well. Quickly before we get to the Whitecaps and more talk about referees, quick whip around. A few people are asking me questions following the game on hashtag AskAFP. Tim Stockton is one of those. Ravi also wants to talk about the formation, and there's a number of questions here. Travis Martin, all of them asking the same thing. What is the ideal formation for Toronto FC? 3-5-2, 4-4-2. Ravi says switching to the 3-5-2 in the second half was unexpected. Should this be their regular formation? We were surprised that he went to a 3 as well, weren't we? I don't think at this point they have any tactical identity right now, this club.
No.
And look, they're trying to find it, but right now we've gone from 4-3-3 to 4-4-2 to 3-5-2 to 4-4-2 to back 3-5. It's
just chopping around.
And maybe
that's seen it during games, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think maybe that's as a result of the recruitment still to come. But at this point, to answer the question, what's the best shape? I still don't know what the best shape is, and I don't know if they do.
No, I don't think they do, and I think that Greg Vanny would like to see certain formations played, but he has players that has to get in the team, and so they're maybe not quite as suited to that certain shape. I think that's what the dilemma is in his head. My personal opinion is that 3-4-2-1 is going to be the best formation for TFC, thinking about the qualities of Pozzuelo coming in as a number 10, as one of the two advanced forwards, maybe an Osorio in there, potentially a different addition, and then you have the two in midfield. I thought Osorio did pretty well today, especially first half in that central midfield
I like him
area.
In there.
Yeah, I
like
thought it was
creativity.
Creativity, you're right, energy, intelligence to move into different areas. So, maybe there's a battle there between him and Delgado to partner Michael Bradley as that too. But I think with the vulnerabilities in the defence, I think they need the 3/5 to help solidify that area of the field, especially against better sides in MLS. And so, with the one forward, the one outstanding forward being Jose Altidore, I don't see why you want to play two, but there's dilemma, there's questions there. He would like wide men in his team, but he doesn't have any wide men at the moment. I don't know if any are coming in. The test of 4-3-3, where the fullbacks were coming inside, was disastrous against Independiente. A lot of work to be done there if that's going to come back. And so you get this confusion, with the players and also with the fan base between what's best, where are we going to go. And so you can't have an identity if you have a confusion, KJ, and you've hit the nail on the head. They need to just stick to one and work on it every single day, the good and the bad, for maybe a couple of weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks of teething problems, and then hopefully start to see some improvements with that formation.
Yeah, quickly, I would say I think I would play a 4-3-3. The only reason why is I want Pozzuelo behind the ball more than I want him in front of the ball. I don't want passes to Pozzuelo with his back to goal.
Okay.
I want him striding with the ball, and I think your point is an excellent one, but I just think he could get lost in that shape. And I think it's, for me, in a 3 with a back 3, Michael Bradley plays too deep.
Yeah.
And I just have concerns that if that's the case, you have a 3. There was a moment today in the first half, in the second half, when Jonathan Osorio picked up the ball and looked in the midfield and had nowhere to pass it to. And I just think if they play a 4 and you say this is our back 4 and this is you think defending first, and I know they can get forward, Arrow and Morrow, but and then you can play Michael Bradley with Osorio and Pozzuelo. Then you can play De Leon, who can bring some defensive work rate on the right hand side with Altidore, and then your TAM player to come on the left.
Yeah,
that's an idea for me. But
yeah, I'm with you, KJ. But then it begs the question: why did they bring in Laurent Simon in the winter? Because you're bringing in a guy for such a lot of money.
No, I know.
And so far you're saying, well, I'm not sure Simon and Mavinga can just play as a two centre halves because they're too aggressive. You need to get Drew in the team, Drew Moore, because he brings that leadership at the back there. He's a solid defender. He does his job. He's brilliant. Yeah. He does his job. You know what you're going to get from Drew Moore. It's never going to be that flamboyant, but there's going to be very few mistakes. So you need to get him in the team. And so you say, okay, we've wasted, I don't know how much money it's going to be. We'll find out when it gets released, but probably $1 million or something like that on Laurent Simon, when you can't afford to waste a lot of money in MLS when it comes to salary cap. So many questions and many I guess long nights for Greg Vanney to work out what's best for this team as they try and mount a serious challenge for MLS Cup.
Toronto FC are next on the field on Friday the 29th of March against a very good interchanging attack in NYCFC, I'm sure that'll come to debate with that as well. Sam Crenshaw, who came on Twitter on hashtag AskAFP, asks, will the Whitecaps ever win a game? They didn't win the game again. They are now 0-3 to start Marc Dos Santos' era, although very difficult obviously to lose the second game in a moment of controversy. This had again a big moment of controversy. We did the broadcast on CTV on Saturday. The big moment, the big talking point again was close to half time again, and again involved VAR here, where it was interesting to watch Nino Sagafi, the referee, award the penalty. What happened here was Derek Cornelius, the Canadian defender, on Albert Elise. Elise got the goal side of him. Cornelius slid in, had a very minute touch of the ball, didn't really take it out the path of Elise, and then the referee adjudged that he fouled Elise on the way down, gave the penalty. Was it Grajeda? Grajeda was the video assistant referee. Very experienced referee. He took a look at it and felt that Sagafi made a clear and obvious error and asked him to go look at the monitor, and so Sagafi did. He looked at the monitor and still went with his original decision to hand him a penalty. So many areas of this. You're commentating on the game right away, which is not easy to react right away to this. We did a halftime show 3 minutes afterwards as well. I felt at the time, as we continue this education process for fans, particularly when we're on CTV, I just felt it was a difficult look to see two expert opinions be very, very different. I know that the rule is not... it isn't a black or white. It isn't, yes, it's a foul, definitely not. It wasn't that kind of incident. So I understand that there are significant grey areas, and the game is allowed to live in those areas, by the way. Nothing should always be definitely yes, definitely no. That's the way the rules are written, mate, But it was difficult. I just think it's difficult for me when a referee goes over and is recommended by somebody else with replay, and they both had the look of the replay and they still can't come to the conclusion. That was my initial thought. What about yourself?
Yeah, it certainly was. It shows you how opinionated and subjective that part of the rule is, because you think that a touch on the ball is enough to say that it's not a penalty, but it's not actually enough. The ball has to really deviate from its path away from the attacking player. Back to real time, when it was happening, I saw the incident. I immediately agreed with Sagafi. I thought it was a penalty kick. It looked like a penalty kick to the naked eye, first time in real time. And then when you start to see the replays and you see that little bit of a touch from Derek Cornelius on the ball, my opinion changed. I thought that the Grajeda was right to suggest there was a clear and obvious error. And then you get into that subjective grey area that we're talking about, KJ, where it's such a hard one. We've had over 24 hours now from that incident, and I'm still thinking about it and going, I'm still of the mind it was not a penalty, but did that ball move enough to say that it was out of Albert Elise's running path? Cornelius, to get that little touch, does sort of come through Elise as he puts his foot towards the deck. He's free. I say this all the time, don't I? He's free to run in any kind of style and any movement that he wants. It's not his job to get out of the way of a defender's movement. Absolutely. So he comes onto his foot and he goes to down. What a hard one! You could see the real issues that Sagafi was having. He was taking his time,
a lot of tension
and unsure. And so it shows you again that as we move into an era of technology in soccer, we're starting to get to a point where some of these rules feel antiquated to me, and they feel like they have to be addressed and they have to be reviewed and they have to become more black and white. So do we say if the defender gets a touch on the ball, any touch before he impacts the forward, then it's a fair tackle, or do we really be clear that the ball has to move direction? The issue I have here is if we say the ball has to move direction, how much does it have to move direction? Right. We're still subjective and it's still an opinion. Yeah. So I think that we need to get to a point where we can make it as black and white as possible, because while it's grey and we've got video review coming in, we're not losing the controversy. We're still going to have these arguments whether we go to video screen or not. I
don't know if we'll ever lose them. And
maybe we shouldn't. Maybe that's part of the game.
Yeah, look, it's like I said, this is a midnight episode tonight. I wish there was an area for me to talk more about this longer, and I wish I was not as tired to maybe find my words. So please forgive me here. It's a laid back atmosphere, but I do think we need to get this out. It's fascinating. I don't think this is a clanger. This is not something that like the week before,
it's not like
where everybody's going to be battering them. You're going to get the fans from the Whitecaps who are not going to be very happy with this.
Of course.
I've seen a lot of people criticising VAR for this. By the way, this when I talk about criticising VAR, Manchester City scored an 88th minute winner in a quarter-final of an FA Cup with a guy clearly offside, where the stadium was equipped for VAR and they didn't put it in because it wasn't a Premier League stadium.
Right.
So you want to talk about controversy? That's controversy. This is not controversy. I do think it's a great debate. There's so many layers to why I think this is. The referee has more of the feel for the game on the field than a guy sitting behind a monitor.
Yeah.
And I think the feel for the game factor needs to be discussed. I think the benefit of the doubt factor, I think the trust that the players and the managers have, I think even though people get mad at referees, I think they have more trust with the man in the middle than they do with somebody they have no connection with right now sitting in a VAR room. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So I think that helped him a little bit. Upon review, it's clear that maybe the VAR shouldn't have put him in that position. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because at that point, I think we have to understand that when he's telling that referee, it's clear and obvious. He's almost got to make sure that that referee doesn't go overturn him in any league, because at that point you're kind of looking a bit comical.
There's an error with the process almost.
Yeah, I understand that people are allowed to disagree in this, but I always say this in life. I lean on experts in life, okay? So like if you've got a problem with your car, you take it to the garage and the mechanic says you've got this problem, and you go, okay.
Yeah,
I gotta trust you. You know what I mean? If you've got a problem with your body or something health-wise, you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, we've seen this, and this, we've done tests, and what you do, you trust them. You go, okay, these guys know what they're doing, and I think we've got to have this discussion with these guys. These guys are experts in their field, okay? So when they give a penalty, even whether I think he's there, he's feeling for the game, he's been through hours upon years of training, and he thinks it's a penalty. Yet then the guy behind the screen goes, no, it's not. I'm starting to question the expert a little bit. Do you know where I'm going? And I don't want to do that. I've seen people on Twitter all the time, it wasn't a penalty. Well, I'm sorry, you're sitting on your couch. I'm not going to believe you over a guy who's an expert in his field. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, it was a very difficult decision for them to make. I felt for them, but I would like to see more global respect for these experts. I just felt that hindered it a little bit, where two experts, after looking at it, couldn't agree in the big moment to come to the decision.
You know what I think happened? I think that there's pressure on the video assisted referees to get to a decision as quickly as possible.
Right.
And so what I think happened was that Grajeda or anybody who's in that truck feels that.
Yeah.
They want to get there. And I think he went to clear and obvious and suggested a review when he saw the touch without really taking his time to analyse how much that touch,
great point,
can't get my words out, deviated the ball.
It's late, mate, you're allowed.
So I think he went, there's a touch here, probably my mate Sagafi's not seen this, I'm going to come in right away and suggest clear and obvious because he got the ball first and let him get to the screen to have a look. And I think once Sagafi got to the screen, he sees the touch, maybe he saw it in real time, maybe he never, but then he, in his process, which he was right to do, took his time and started to think about, all the parts of that rule that come into play. And then once he done that, we could argue he then came to the right decision that he originally got to. And so in that moment, again, we fall back on the fact that the rule isn't clear enough. There's still opinions there between two experts in their fields, one who's not in the field of the stadium, like you said, one who's sitting in a truck and trying to be clinical, and another guy who sensed the situation, saw Elise pick the ball up, running at Cornelius, one of the best wide attackers in MLS, magnificent football player. We all knew there was a fair chance he was going to get past Derek Cornelius, yep. And so he's on high alert. He sees the challenge, he points the spot right away, and on look at the second review, he still feels that there was an obstacle there for Elise to get towards the ball and stop with his original decision.
This is an evolving process, and this is going to keep evolving, and we're all learning here. Everybody is learning, and this is a great thing about sport. It's always going to present you with something you don't know. We can't have a written rule for every single thing. Right now there's a lot of people trying to smash VAR. It's not existing very well. This is the point where I think we need to say, okay, maybe now it isn't just about clear and obvious. We do that initially to say it's got to be about clear and obvious. What about in a situation like that where these two guys should be able to have a conversation and then go and look at it, and then and that comes to my point where if I think the next step is, and I don't know if this is ever going to happen, mate, if we can hear that conversation between the two officials, we would have a better understanding of how they came to that conclusion. We would have more respect for them, I think. Viewers would have more respect. We have tons of respect.
Of course.
But viewers would have more respect for them to how they come to that. And then we would have more clarity
sort of
as
like
well.
Rugby.
It's like rugby as well. And I know that can't come right now while on the field because the poor refs can't barely ever speak to me. Even in this situation, Sagaffi is telling the players, I need time to listen to him, move away. So the players are in their face, but once they go over to the monitor, I would love at one point for us to be all to hear that. Quickly before we move on to Liverpool, the Whitecaps did lose the game. They were in it in the second half. They made tactical changes. In the end, they lost out to probably narrowly the better team. A difficult one at the back three that was changed at half time. So some decisions to make going forward for them. Big
decisions to make. They were probably their best 45 minutes from an attacking sense in the second half. They looked better. Bangura came on, scored a great goal and looked more incisive, played more vertical passes forward quicker. I thought that was a clear sign that Marc Dos Santos had went into half time and said, guys, we're a bit too side to side here, we don't look like a threat. Got Montero into the game a little bit more. I still think there's some issues there with him up top, but I like the changes that were made. Really, they're struggling in the left back area. I thought Elise was the best player in the park, and I said it earlier, he's one of the best attacking wide players in MLS. He's a brilliant player, and he really caused all sorts of problems for whether it was Cornelius or PC. They just didn't know how to handle him, and so I think ultimately the Whitecaps are still a serious work in progress. There's a lot of improvement that needs to come if they're going to be in the playoff hunt in the West. I like a number of teams in the West, and I think there's a hope. There's a lot to come because it's not really been good enough so far. But a performance that was a little bit better. And they need more, don't they?
Much work to come, no doubt about it. Like to see Reina get involved in the games a little bit more as well, if he's supposed to be the man, So before we get to Shawnee in the headlines and our beds, Liverpool versus Fulham. Liverpool travel to the Cottage and perform what they need to. The biggest thing for me here was that the 7 minutes between 1-1 and 2-1 were fascinating. Virgil van Dijk makes a mistake, or I think maybe the two of them, him and Alisson Becker, probably half and half maybe for me. Alisson doesn't really come. Van Dijk puts his hand up, and the man with the red hair, Ryan Babel, scored the goal. Didn't want to celebrate. The guy who had like a cup of coffee with Liverpool just years ago. But anyway, he scores the goal. One of the big moments in the Premier League so far. Yet the player didn't want to celebrate. The crowd's going crazy, and he's got his hands up like Van Dijk. But then I felt like, okay, here we go, because I think it's fascinating in our minds how much we can process in like a couple of seconds. You'd be like, how did I think about that quickly? And like what you generate in your mind.
Yeah.
For Liverpool fans, that 7 minutes probably felt like hours, because I'm sure many of them were like, oh no, this is our Stevie Gerrard slip moment. Is this our three goal lead up and giving it away at Palace moment? If they didn't win the game, I'm sure that would have been meltdown city for Liverpool. They've cracked. And in the end, they found a way to dig deep and get it done. And it has to be said, Sadio Mane, that man again, maybe the most informed man in European football right now, was involved. And that's what you need, mate. You need players to be involved and not be disappeared. And he found a way.
Yeah, he found a way. He's really took this team on, the attacking part of this team, right on his shoulders. And he's been their best player for a number of weeks now. And he's bringing a nice blend of smarts and energy and sort of pace and urgency to the attack, so I think that has to be recognised. Well, his two partners are hot and cold. Salah way more cold than he is hot in recent weeks. Firmino didn't have his greatest game today, but he's been a bit better. But Mane's just said, okay, I got this team, and he looks like he's in the form of his life. He's been terrific. I agree with you, the 7 minutes were very interesting. They went up 2 or 3 gears, which to me was impressive, but it made me ask the question, why were they not in the gears at the start?
Yep.
I thought they were just coasting along a bit too much. They should have been going through the gears a little bit earlier to get into that 2 or 3 goal lead, to then maybe rest some players or start to just manage the game at that moment. You're always taking a risk when you're just at 1-0 and you're trying to cruise along. Big error from the most important player. You wouldn't expect that, but to then find a way, they were helped by an awful goalkeeping error from Sergio Rico.
Yep. He thought he was playing the Six Nations, didn't he?
Yeah, and then, that James Milner's a good mate of mine from my time at Leeds, and, an outstanding 17-year-old at the time, and we kept in touch for a number of years, and I was praying that he was going to put that ball in the back of the net. A brilliant guy, a great professional, and I could feel the weight of the moment on his shoulders, and I'm sure everybody who's a Liverpool supporter or has any connection could feel it as well.
Yeah.
And the one man that was the coolest man in the entire stadium was thankfully James Milner. Like, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Just incredible, yeah.
Waits in the moment, puts it into the back of the net. Brilliant professional and great football player. The title race is on, they're back into the lead. Let's see what's going to happen. It seems like they're way more emotional than Manchester City, but they're still in this. They've got a lot of admirable qualities, and I think it's going to go right to the wire.
Yeah, quickly on that, and we'll talk a lot about it over the next few weeks. I think they almost have to play on emotion, because I think City are just better. They've got better players, they've got more quality, tactical quality, they've got more goal scorers. But in order to get through some of these, they've got to play with the higher tempo.
Yeah.
Salah's a problem. I'm sorry, he's a problem. It's been a significant problem for a few weeks now. There's a couple of moments during the game where he just makes really bad decisions, doesn't make the right pass, tries to go for goal. Guys are wide open. It looks like, so right now, you look at 11 players on the field. Every time he's like the 9th or 10th best Liverpool player on the pitch for the last few weeks. That's concerning for me, and Firmino might be right there with him. Bobby Firmino looked like he was freezing. I know it's like 4 seasons in one day, as typical England can be sometimes, but he looked like he weren't interested, which is a bit concerning. Trent Alexander-Arnold I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, he's some player, isn't he?
And Robertson, again, the wide areas were unbelievable.
Robertson just never stops, does he?
Alexander-Arnold, what a player they've got there.
Yeah, I think Alexander-Arnold has more talent than Robertson.
Yeah.
I
think he could play midfielder, mate.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
I think he could play midfield. His eye for the pass is like, it's something I just don't see from English players.
Yeah.
I think he's got that eye for the pass from as an English players that you just don't get. Like, English players in the past, they've created a lot of good players, mate, but they don't sometimes have that continental vision, as I would say.
Yeah.
And he's got that.
No, he certainly has. It's amazing how much creativity in the side service towards the front three comes from the two guys.
Yeah.
Nothing really comes from the midfield players. It's just fascinating to watch, and Robertson just gets up and down that left side like you would never believe.
Brilliant in Munich as well, weren't he?
Yeah, he was. I think he just lacks quality at times, but I'm with you. They need the energy. They need to go full out now. Play in the Liverpool style. Go for it. Go for every single game. Don't be tentative. Keep bombing forward, and it's going to come from the wide guys. I'm going to suggest something outrageous, but maybe Salah needs a break here.
Yeah.
Would it be crazy to sit him on the bench for a couple of games and try and get his spark back. Would he lose his confidence from that, or is it an arm round the shoulder and say, I'm doing this for your own good? We're going to have an impact for 25 minutes when defences are a little bit slower. Maybe he comes on for a Firmino in a more central area, because I would like to see him
he's gone away
get
from
back there. He's always on the wing now. I'm unsure why that is, where a few months ago he's playing through the middle, wasn't he, more often. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but hopefully he gets back to the form, because they're going to need him. There's going to be tight games, and they need a player of his quality just to unlock the door at that vital moment. If he stays in this form, they'll be behind City, I think.
Alright, now over to Shawnee for headlines.
Thanks, KJ. Let's get through these pretty quick. I know we all have beds to go to.
We do.
Let's start with a couple matches. Chelsea dropped 3 points today to Everton. Thoughts on the match?
Talking about energy, I thought that they had all the energy they needed in the first 45 minutes, but again, really, really poor in the second half. Let Everton get in the game with a defensive mislap from a set piece, and the fact that Marcos Alonso was on the pitch. Because the guys they could have given away 2 penalties in 2 seconds. In the end, he did give away 1, but that's how bad he was. I just don't know how he gets in the team anymore. But in the end, Sarri had very little to explain after the game too, which I don't know what was worse, to be honest, Chelsea's team or Sarri's post-game press conference.
I couldn't believe that. He had no answers to say why his team were so different in the second half. You're paid a lot of money to be that guy to tell us what happened.
Yeah.
And he was, he was shirking the question and sort of shrugging his shoulders. 2 different Chelseas. It's like they're like spoiled children, aren't they? You just don't know what you're going to get from one half to the next, one game to the next. It's all this stuff that's sort of playing in front of each other. I think they've had more passes in their half, their defensive half, than any other team in the Premier League, and it shows you that there's something wrong with the way that they're playing. Everybody likes possession football these days, but possession with a purpose. This team are playing possession for the sake of it. They're just moving the ball around. They're hoping that it gets to the feet of their one outstanding player in Eden Hazard to work his magic and put it in the back of the net, because there's no pattern to the attack of this team. There's no way of playing. There's no idea to sort of play a certain way. Well, much like, let's just say, a Liverpool, where we know they're going to try and get in wide areas and get balls fizzed across the box, and if teams want to stretch out with them, then they'll go through the middle. We get what they're all about. I don't know what Chelsea are about, KJ.
No.
We don't know what they're trying to do, and another disastrous day for them. Good day for Everton again.
Biggest win for Marcus Silva since. And
it was a bit like Chelsea in a sense, where their first half was pretty awful, and then they turned up in the second. They played the kind of football that the fans demand and that they need to do to be successful. And so, just a weird game from me. And I'm with you on Alonso. He sort of epitomises their whole team, doesn't he? In the way that he goes about it, just lazy defending at times, isn't it?
And Higuain too, by the way. I was just so slow.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a bit harsh. He's still getting used to the league, but when Chelsea when they're bad, he's really bad.
Yeah,
he's just not a player who's going to carry a team through that difficult times.
I don't think it's harsh. I think his good days are behind him. He's truly good days, and it's a shame to see a world class player that gets to that level. But if you don't have the pace in this modern day in the Premier League, you're going to struggle to have an impact.
Stevie's Manchester United were eliminated in the FA Cup. Thoughts on today's match?
You had a little bit of fun on Twitter with this match, didn't you, mate?
Oh, I did, yeah. All these wheels are falling off, aren't they? He's in the passenger seat, I think I said. Yeah.
Every credit to Wolves, though, again.
They know what they're about,
they beat Man United in the FA Cup. They beat Liverpool in the FA Cup. 10 points from the top 6 in the Premier League. And they've got an identity, and at home they're very difficult to beat as well. So every credit, they just did the job on them in the second half, and they were a better team. Probably one of the worst performances Solskjaer's had at United. Yeah,
I think so. And I don't think there's been a lot of great performances from Manchester United. I've saw some players with better form, but I've not seen what everybody else is talking about, this new attacking football. I still see a team that have to get back behind the ball and defend, and there was that period where they were obviously breaking really quickly and showing some good attacking ability in the counter-attack, but I didn't see any periods where they dominated the game, and they were the attack of yesteryear. And so they go to Wolves, and Wolves stick to their game plan. They do what they do best. Two players I want to mention, KD, Jota and Raul Jimenez, just brilliant, aren't they? What a great partnership. The work rate that they do to get back behind the ball and then to break as quick as they do, the two goal scorers on day. And Jimenez is getting all the attention just now, but I love Jota. I think he's terrific. I do. His work rate, he was a wider guy earlier in the season. Now he's partnering Raul Jimenez up top, and I just think he's got a little bit of everything to his game. So watch that lad develop. He could be something really special in the next few years.
Absolute handful for opposing defenders, no question.
The semi-final draw for the FA Cup happened today. Watford gets Wolves. Manchester City gets Brighton. Is this City's to lose?
Yeah, I think City win the cup unless Gary Caldwell can lift it instead, which happened once for Wigan Athletic.
Where's Wigan when you need them in the draw? Yeah, they're the only team that can beat City in the cup.
That's right. Maybe it's Watford. Maybe it's Wolves, another W team.
Yeah.
But a fun draw. Watford get Wolves. Man City get Brighton. Watched Brighton beat Millwall in a dramatic penalty shootout today. That was class. That was really fun to watch. Glenn Murray misses the first penalty. Brighton won the toss. By the way, they were 2-0 down at 88 minutes, scored 2 goals, and then you know that they're going to win it at that point. Yeah. Just know the goalkeeper threw the ball in the net in the last second of the match and a free kick, and then they won the penalties. They were down 1-0. They were down 3-2. Glenn Murray misses the first penalty, and then it went to extras, and they won on the 6th penalty when the poor lad smashed the ball over the bar. But I could see it coming. For me, the elimination of Manchester United. Now I've started to believe that this treble, well, maybe quadruple, but forget the Champions League just for 1 second. This domestic treble is now very, very much of a realistic discussion.
Yeah.
You know, they're the favourite in the Premier League, and now they've got an FA Cup between them, and they've got Watford, Wolves, and Brighton.
Yeah.
What a chance.
I know. It's maybe Swansea in the quarterfinals was their moment where they might have slipped up and just relentless with the attack in the second half to win 3-2. And you look at the teams there, and it's certainly their cup to lose. You would expect them to get past Brighton, and in the final, how would you ever back anybody else against?
Well, I think no offence to Brighton, but they've got the weakest of the 4 here too, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think Wolverhampton, would have been the toughest game, just in where they are on the table and what they do, the way that they play. They've already caused City problems at Wolverhampton, at Molineux, this season already.
Yeah, 1-1.
I'm excited to see the Watford-Wolverhampton game. Same. I think that might be a good game.
Yeah, I agree.
I make Wolves favourites, but I wouldn't be surprised if Watford win that. And Brighton will try and frustrate Manchester City, and Chris will have a game plan, players behind the ball, what we expect from Brighton. But I would be shocked if City don't win the FA Cup. And I'm with you, KJ, they're the favourites in the league. Domestic treble is on course. Champions League is going to be a little bit tougher, because if you have the type of slip they did at Liberty Stadium the other night against Swansea, then they're going to be out the Champions League. You can't afford that at this level of Champions League. But some great times ahead for City, and can Pep just keep them motivated and ready and choose the right 11 for the right game to win the quadruple? It would be incredible, wouldn't it?
It would. I love Watford, Wolves and Brighton being in the cup, because for me, nothing drives me more crazy. Maybe it's because of the team I support, but nothing drives me crazier than when you've got these teams in the Premier League who are not getting relegated, playing like second 11 teams in the 4th round of the FA Cup. You know what I mean? Like, go for you've got that's what fans want. They want moments, mate. You got a trip to Wembley here. You know, you're not going to celebrate finishing 8th. You're not going to remember in years to come that year, amazingly we finished 8th in the Premier League. No, you remember moments like this where you try and contend for it. You know, you'll forever remember your semi-finals with Newcastle and all that. You never forget those moments. That's what cups do. They bring you moments. League tables are nice. They bring you money. They give you security, safety. But it's about the moments.
You're right. I'll never forget them, KJ. My first one was 99. It was at Old Trafford. It was Spurs Newcastle. It was the first time I was in the Newcastle squad.
Right.
Ruud Gullit took me to Manchester, and I never got stripped, but it was just amazing to be around the guys, you know, before the game, the lead up to the game. I'll never forget it. And then I think I had a groin operation before the final, but watched the game at home. And then I was back there in was it 2001 where we played Chelsea? We were a little bit unfortunate. We lost 2-1. I was back there as a player, but as a supporter I wasn't in the squad. But I remember the days down to Wembley, fans are loving it, a meal the night before, a couple of beers and out to watch the game. It was just a brilliant experience. And the Watford and the Wolves and the Brighton fan City are a bit more used to it.
Yeah,
they're going to have a great time. That's what it's about, yeah. You know. And hopefully one of my old teams, maybe a Newcastle or a Burnley, will get there next year. It'll be exciting.
Alphonso Davies scored his first goal for Bayern Munich today. Does this relieve the pressure a bit on the youngster?
I hope so. I mean, I've been pretty consistent in my thoughts here that I felt like any kind of minutes he gets this season is a not a bonus. I was thinking about this today driving to the match, and I have to say I don't think there's a better place for him in world football right now.
Yeah,
I really don't. I can't. You couldn't name me a team where I go, yeah, that's a better place for him, because he's gone to a place that's in, and I use this word a little bit liberally, but turmoil.
Yeah,
but they're going to probably win the league, or they're now in contention. They were fifth, not that long ago. So he's still got that ability to be in a title race while the team's going through a transition. No one knows whether the coach is going to be there. So he's giving him a chance. He's playing in games. So the team's not as good where he's got no chance of getting a minutes. Do you know what I mean? So he's got an opportunity. He's not going to a place where everything's going amazingly well and he's occasionally getting on. That's not good. You need to be learning some issues as well. And then he's scoring a goal for Bayern Munich. He's running in the corner flag and he's got like Lewandowski and Ribéry giving him hugs, like, and James Rodriguez. Like, it couldn't be any better.
I'll probably forget the goal in time that he scores, but I'll never forget the moment when he runs to the corner and he slides his knees and he sort of stands up, and the joy in his face first and foremost, and then the joy of his teammates, guys that have won World Cups and league titles and Champions Leagues, and coming over to share the moment with a youngster, understanding what it means. And that is a moment in history for Canada soccer. I really believe that, to see one of Canada's own to be sharing the field with they kind of guys is special. To be given his first real minutes in the team at left back, it has to be added. I think that he's going to be an outstanding left back. I'm not sure that left wing's his best position as he tries to forge a career at the top levels of the European game. I think left back will be his role, and he comes on for David Alaba, no other than David Alaba, and he gets that goal. So I'm delighted for him. He must be doing good work in training. That's important. He needs to keep that up, and he must be doing good work with the second team. Also important, he's 18 years old. He's went from being a first team player in a much lower league to one of the biggest clubs in the world, so he needs to accept that and have no ego when it comes to that. Again, seems like he's doing that, otherwise he wouldn't be getting 30 minutes in a Bundesliga game when they're right back in a title hunt. So yeah, terrific, and really pleased for him, because he's a guy that works extremely hard and he's an inspiration to millions of Canadians.
The Champions League draw is set. Spurs get City, United get Barcelona, Porto gets Liverpool, and Ajax takes on Juventus. Don't need your picks just yet, but thoughts on the matchups?
Thoughts on the matchups. I thought Liverpool got a good draw. Porto played them last year and just beat them significantly, didn't they, in the 16?
Yeah.
So they got that. I don't know why they did the semi-final draw as well. It's kind of annoying to me. I don't know. But
yeah,
I don't know why they did that. But anyway, they did it. So Liverpool get Porto, and then one of Manchester United or Barcelona. United will be they're going to be very, very tough against the best team in European football, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah.
Messi just scored an incredible hat-trick again today, lobbed the goalkeeper from inside his penalty area, just an incredible goal, and the guy's on a mission.
Yeah.
And by the way, the mission is not only to win the league, but this Champions League, getting knocked out in the quarterfinals the last 3 years, miserable. That is nowhere near good enough for a team like that. You can see the coach wants it.
Yeah.
Messi wants it. I think he's had enough of this Real Madrid love fest for European Cups in 5 years. They're on a mission to win this, and I think United are going to run into a buzzsaw here.
Yeah, they've won the league. He's won them the league already, pretty much, so he can sort of rest a bit in that. So he's rested by getting a hat-trick on Sunday night against Betis, like he does. The last one was just one of the most unbelievable chips you're ever going to see. It's unbelievable. Only Messi can score it. The guy is on a mission, and they're going to beat United over 2 legs, I think. I said Paris would beat United, so I'm saying that tentatively, but this team have way more than Paris. They have resilience. They have the best player of all time, in my opinion, and they have it's quality all over. So I think there'll be too much for United. I make City and Barcelona neck and neck in terms of quality for this title, and of course they can meet each other in the final. Wouldn't that be pretty special when you see, the sort of apprentice, if you could call Messi that, come up against his master and Pep? That would be an interesting one. Pep playing against Barcelona in a Champions League final. So many exciting stories here. You expect Juve after that wonderful victory to beat Ajax, but that's going to be a good one again, KJ, isn't it? And the all English clash between Spurs and Man City. Again, you expect City to come through, but Spurs have nothing to lose. They have tons of quality. Everybody's sort of diminishing any good from this season. Everything's doom and gloom. Would you be shocked if they caused City some major problems?
Not at all. I actually think I've got a sneaky feeling. I'm just going to say it right now.
Yeah.
No picks right now, but not a good draw in my opinion for Man City.
Speaking of Messi, when asked about Messi or Ronaldo in Miami, Beckham said, "You never know." Do you expect either player to find their way in Major League Soccer? And at what age is too old for these two?
Too old, I'd say 57. But then I think they'll probably still score goals.
Yeah.
Just get them in the area.
Maybe James Corden can bring them to Beckham and say we've signed him, and then just prank him.
That would be funny.
Yeah,
watch that statue one. It's fantastic.
It's funny.
He's not seen it.
Yeah, maybe he can say, "Oh, I brought you Ronaldo," and you bring him to Ronaldo. You're like, "Oh, great, Ronaldo's here," and then maybe he brings him
just a lookalike
Ronaldinho or something. You know what I mean? That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? You never know. He said, "Well, do you expect either?" Let's answer Shawnee's question. Do you expect either player finding their way to MLS? I do think Ronaldo will come to MLS. I don't know about Messi. What age is too old? Come on. I mean, never really.
40?
Yeah. Although,
if
as I said,
fit, he's still in some kind of shape.
As I
just
said, Ronaldo coming to MLS, I did remember that he has to be very careful about what he's going to do in the United States. Yeah. So maybe he won't be. We'll just
might not be allowed in.
Yeah,
I don't think Messi will play for another team apart from Barcelona.
Yeah,
I think he'll retire there. I would be very shocked.
Or go back to Argentina for a year, maybe.
Maybe. I just
he hasn't really got a connection there either.
I just think he should retire at Barcelona. He's their greatest ever player amongst many legends, and so I just think personally, if he went to MLS or Japan or even back to his home country in Argentina, I just think it would take the shine off it a little bit. I just want him to retire as a Barcelona player.
Moving on to the mailbag section, let's talk about Ask AFP. Make sure to send us all your tweets to @afootballpod and use the hashtag AskAFP. Michael asks, since last podcast you both picked Atleti to lift the Champions League trophy.
Yeah, how did that work out for you?
Yeah, not well.
Who's your favourite now?
We don't do predictions very well.
Yeah.
Oh, Stevie does predictions.
No, I was bad.
Well.
Remember my World Cup predictions? Awful.
Yeah, but we do this thing on Score just every week where you're actually
the leader.
leading right now of all former pros. We have to predict every Premier League game of the season. It's it is a grind. But Stevie and I are still going, and you are winning. So predictions are working out well.
I'm
is
at
our
the top.
Saturday mornings. Who'd you pick? Oh, I got this one. I did get Everton to beat Chelsea today, but
well done, mate.
I rarely get things well.
I had a bad weekend, so I've probably dropped a couple of places. I'm in a tight fight.
You are
at the
with
top.
Frank McAvenny and Matt Holland.
Yeah, Matt won it last year as well, so
he
has pedigree at this level.
So he's the Man City of predictions.
Yeah,
so.
I was in the top 100 over the whole platform.
Yeah,
I noticed, but I did have a bad weekend. I got a couple of results right, but I didn't get any on the button, and I got some badly wrong. I think it was a tough weekend though. So
you're struggling. You're a bit like Liverpool. Lift your energy. So we'll go with Barcelona as my favourite for lifting the Champions League.
Manchester City.
There you go.
Sweet. I expect both of them to lose next round.
Exactly. Yeah.
Randall asks, why don't they penalize diving after the fact? Post game yellows, etc.
We do, I think.
Yeah, they do.
They do. But it is a very slippery slope to go down because you are asking people to judge intent, and that's the problem with the rule is intent. ultimately it's hard enough to referee and to police this game as it is. And then you're asking them to look at it, and look, the diving is very, very difficult. I think right now I'm comfortable with getting the yellow cards for the obvious.
Yeah.
And those are the ones where you're like, is it a dive? Is it not? If there's any kind of question mark in the mind of an official or anybody on a review afterwards, if there's any question mark, I think you got to stay away from it, because it's dangerous. Years ago we had the Eduardo fast, and we remember that. So, it's not a thing that's nice in the game. We talked about Chicharito last week.
Yeah.
But ultimately that was a clear and obvious one. So
yeah, it's a hard one to come in and penalise. I can only think of Navas when he was for Everton at Selhurst Park against Palace.
That was horrendous.
He clearly dived. He won inside the penalty that they put in the back of the net, and he got suspended for the next game as he looked at it. I can't think of any other ones,
memory,
KJ.
mate, after midnight.
Yeah,
amazing.
I can remember that one. It's an impossible one to go back and give punishment. I do think that it needs to be addressed, because I'm sick of diving, and in this world where it's impossible to defend, it's another thing that comes into it for a defender, where as soon as he even touches something, doesn't even touch, the forward's going over. We need to look at it. But
I'm sure it wouldn't have been like to been that opponent if someone went over by you and just deliberately dived, and then suddenly they look up and you've got your, as you would say, your head would be
leaning in.
You'd be leaning in with your head, and then you'd be sorting him,
pointing in his
face. You dive in, beat. That would be good to watch again.
Nathan asks if Wolves could be a legitimate top 6 contender anytime soon.
Yeah, I think they could be. Look, are they that far away from Chelsea right now? They're not really in overall quality. Look, the next step for them is obviously to sign more players, which, I mean, I don't know if they've got any connections to any decent agents, but Wolves, but they might have. They could find a few more players. They're going to keep Raul Jimenez. It looks like they're going to spend the money on him. Jota, we've talked about. Moutinho was class again. Neves is going to stay. Ruben Neves is going to stay as well. If they can keep all these players, the next step for them would be to get a few more quality players in. But would you be surprised next season over 38 games if they were better than Chelsea, for example, the way they are right now? So they're going to have to. It's going to have to take another step up in consistency and signings, and it's going to have to take one of those big 6, and they are big in terms of money, to have a significant down season. So I look at Chelsea right now as a team in turmoil in terms of they could lose Hazard. The recent record of signings has been woeful. So why couldn't Wolves get in the top 6?
No, I'm with you. I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility. I just think it's going to be really challenging. The first thing for me is they need to keep Nuno Santo. It's absolutely crucial. As teams are going to start looking at him maybe above and think about recruiting him as a manager, that would be a step back obviously for Wolves, and they're going to have to go and spend again, and they're going to have to do something really brave. They're going to have to replace guys that have been very good for them, and that's going to be tough because loyalty comes into it, and you think areas, and I don't want to pick people out, but where they've had great seasons, but really if you are going to challenge the top 4, you need better players within the areas. You need a stronger squad, so you probably need the guys to hang around and still have the same attitude and and personality they've had this season, while you bring in someone else. And as I've known from the past, at whatever level, that's hard to keep that squad
not
unity.
Too many changes though, because you could do. You
that's what I mean.
You could go the wrong way, couldn't you?
That's why it's brave to go and change the guys, because they've been excellent. There's improvement there in some of the younger players, and will they get substantially better enough to really play in the top 4? Who knows? Only Nuno Santo knows that. He's done a terrific job so far, but I think that'll be tough. And then you expect Chelsea to probably go and change their manager. Well, that's a positive or not, who knows, and go and spend, well, if they can, with a transfer ban, go and spend some money. Chelsea are the one that you look at, but then Arsenal are going to spend. We're not talking about one team here, we're talking about them replacing 3 teams to get into that kind of 4th slot, and I'd see them miles away from City and Liverpool, and a fair distance away from Spurs.
It's unprecedented almost what they've accomplished here.
No, they've been outstanding.
But history is against the question. A lot of the times teams that do that they do come back, so we'll see whether they can kick on again.
Magical Martial asks if Liverpool or City will prioritise the league over Champions League.
I I don't know if they will. I mean, by changing the team, I don't think they will.
No chance.
No, I don't think they will prioritise it over that. I do think Liverpool, by getting Porto, will have an opportunity to keep a couple of players out in maybe one of the games. So it's not a slam on them, but if they do what they did last year and go win 5-0, well, happy days. You got another game you can take off. Robertson's suspended for the first game, so that's something to keep an eye on. But because Moreno has to play probably, which is not ideal. But I don't think they will. No, the one thing about these teams is just they're like two massive heavyweights going toe to toe every single week. It's absolutely relentless.
Yeah,
the top level they're playing at, and particularly City, and the squads aren't that big either. They're not that big. They're just not. There's just no way they're going to make 5 or 6 changes and be in these games. The
consistency of 15, 16 guys is remarkable in both these sides.
Yeah.
They've been tremendous, and I think Liverpool would rather the league than the Champions League, and I think City would rather the Champions League than the Premier League.
Point.
And it's a bit of a crazy thing to say, because these guys, the mentality is just win everything. But if push came to shove and you made them make a choice, that's what I think would happen. But they'll be going for it in all counts. I think I'm with you, KJ. Porto are dangerous. They are dangerous. I think they're better than when Liverpool played them last year. Marega was magnificent in the last round, so keep an eye on him up top for Porto, a player that I like a lot. Pace and power and finishing ability.
Yeah, he replaced Abubakar when he got hurt.
But he's getting better all the time. So keep an eye. A bit of banana skin for Liverpool potentially. You would expect them to go through. It's going to be exciting. There's two teams that go all out for everything that they're in, so expect that.
Quick win. Sandro asks, Navas or Courtois?
Courtois for me, saying that knowing that he's had an absolute stinker of a year and it's not gone well for him, and Zidane's gone back to Keylor Navas, hasn't he?
Yeah,
so
first game.
So but for me, I've always been a Courtois fan, as you know. I've always liked him, but he has, I don't know this, but I just feel like he's got a little bit of a mental problem. He looks a bit of a troublemaker a little bit, don't you think? He's always
arrogant for me.
He's always kind of in the news a little bit, and like it just gets that kind of, I don't know.
There's
something about him that rubs me the wrong way. I try and put that aside when I analyse people and players. As a goalkeeper, there's a lot to like. I actually think a few years ago he was one of the best in the world. But he has definitely regressed, no question.
I mean, I'm with you. I think he's better than Keylor Navas, but a hybrid of the two would be a good goalkeeper, because I think that's why Zidane went back to Navas, because I think he likes his mentality more than Courtois is, and Courtois is a hard guy to like. He's very opinionated and very self-assured and sort of says some things that are unbecoming of a professional. He'll call people out and a very high opinion of himself. So I'm sure there's a lot of people all over the world that are maybe sniggering a little bit at he's going to fall from grace, and he's still going to get back there. He's still one of the world's best goalkeepers, but at the moment maybe a bit of humility would serve him well.
Last but not least, the best keeper results are in, and thank you so much for sending them in.
Great, yeah.
We have 3 sort of pools and sort of how it came in, but there's the top tier, the top 3, De Gea, Alisson, and Ederson. And then the second level is Lino, Lloris, Fabianski, and Kepa. And then in the fourth is Schmeichel, Foster, Rui Patricio, and Pickford. I would say that Pickford sort of falls in and out of the top 10, similar to what you were saying last week. And then on top of that, what are your top 5?
Oh, wow. Do we have to give order, or can we just give 5?
Order,
please. Right now, based on form, or
just go.
Oh, it's a bit late. A bit late for that, no? Okay, De Gea 1.
Oh, controversial.
Ederson 2, Alisson Becker 3, Kepa Arrizabalaga 4, and right now I'm going to go with Ben Foster 5.
Yes. Old teammate of mine, Ben Foster. I think he'll sneak into my 5th as well.
There you go.
Number 1, Ederson. Number 2, Alisson Becker.
Okay.
Number 3, David De Gea. Number 4, I'm going to go for Schmeichel.
Okay.
And then number 5, I'm going to go for Ben Foster.
Nice. There you go. And that's not bad. We're put on the spot there. It is almost 12:30.
That's because next week it might be different.
Yeah. By the way, this before we finish, I do want to get to a point where we'll do one show. We're having our production meeting on the air, guys. So I want to do like a top 50 players of the Premier League season. What do you think? We rank them both and we come together with like our own rankings. Do you think that'd be good?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Let us know, everybody, if you think you'd like that, because you guys like the rankings. And I used to do this with you, Shawnee. I used to do top 100 players of the season when we were at the score. They were always fun and brings out some good stuff. So
it makes so many people angry.
It does.
The best part of
That's
everything.
what we want to do. We've been going for hours, so we're in a little bit of an angry mood. But that'd be good, no? So get your thinking cap on top 50 players of Premier League.
Okay, I'll probably just make it up on the spot like always.
That's fine. That's what we'll do. That. There you go. That's what we just did right now, isn't it? But anyway, thanks for listening, everybody, and remember, rate and review. Thanks to Shawnee, thanks to Clay, and all the yawning and all the tiredness that we're going on right now.
Clay's fell asleep. He's in the back there. I hope this was recorded.
No, he's doing his job. Come on, without him, we wouldn't be nobodies. Thanks to everybody who listened, and it's been a good week, and we'll chat with you soon. Good night.